I did my speech on Ross Barnett. Ross Robert Barnett was governor of Mississippi from 1960 to 1965. He was from a rural community in central Mississippi. During the early years of his life, he developed a working-class mentality that made him one of Mississippi's hardest-working governors. Ross Barnett was born in the Standing Pine community in rural Leake County on January 22, 1898. He was the youngest of 10 children. He was the last governor of Mississippi that was born in the same century that Mississippi gained statehood. He was also the last Mississippi governor whose father was a Civil War veteran. Barnett learned a work ethic at an early age. He labored in the fields on his family's farm and worked at his father and uncle's cotton gin. When he was 12, he set a chair under a tree and began cutting hair. He cut hair for free until he learned how. By the time he reached 16, he was charged 10 cents per haircut. When he was 17, he bought a barber chair and barber equipment for $10. This job provided him with spending money and exemplified his work ethic. Barnett also studied hard. He participated in debates and spelling matches. When he was about 14, he organized a debating society at his home school. They would have debates on Saturday nights. Barnett would practice his speech for the debate while plowing the fields on his family's farm. They debated on such important subjects as which is more important, a horse or a cow, or which is more useful on a farm, a boy or a girl. Barnett's family influence had a huge impact on who he would become. When he was younger, Barnett decided he wanted to become a lawyer. He admired his brother, Horace Chadwick Barnett, who was a lawyer. He would hear his brother speak at trials. His other brother, Bert Jefferson Barnett, taught at the Lena School, and he also had a literary society that debated in Lena on Saturday nights. Bert Barnett was influential on Ross Barnett, not just in learning debating and public speaking, but also in politics. Bert was elected Chancery Clerk of Leake County twice and then Neshoba County Senator. Ross helped in Bert's election campaigns. He learned the basic of politics like handshaking and campaign speaking. This political know-how helped him in future campaigns for governor. Barnett began his college years at Mississippi College. He got into Mississippi College with 14 units of high school credit, the minimum requirement. After graduating from Mississippi College, Barnett began teaching school at Pontotoc. He still wanted to be a lawyer and needed to earn money for tuition. He also began selling life insurance while at Pontotoc. Barnett entered law school at Vanderbilt University and continued selling life insurance to earn money. He transferred to the University of Mississippi because he wanted to learn Mississippi law. Eager to start his law practice, Barnett did not wait to get his diploma. He moved to Jackson, where his first case, surprisingly for such a segregationalist, was representing a black woman, Caressa Jones. He sued Jones' ex-husband George for the price of a side saddle. He eventually won a judgment for his client. Barnett's first attempt for governor was in 1951. He ran against a strong slate of opponents, including Paul Johnson Jr. and former Governor Hugh White. Barnett fell just short of making the runoff, and White defeated Johnson in one of Mississippi's closest elections. Barnett ran again in 1955. The big issue was desegregation. Television became an important medium during this time. Barnett was a great speaker in front of a crowd, but struggled when he was on television. Barnett failed to make the second primary, and J.B. Coleman was elected. After his defeat in 1955, Barnett continued giving speeches throughout the state with his eye on the next election. Barnett understood the issue in his election would be racial segregation. The two main themes of Barnett's campaign for the next election were maintaining segregation and industrial development. Barnett went on to promise that while he was governor, schools in Mississippi would not be integrated. Barnett led the field in the first primary and faced Carroll Garton in the runoff. In the second primary, on August 25, 1959, Barnett defeated Garton by over 35,000 votes. At the victory party, Barnett again made the promise that he would not be able to keep. His speech ended with, "But most of all, I promise our schools will not be integrated." This was greeted with applause and celebrating. Barnett's election as governor gained national exposure. The major magazines of all time wrote articles of the segregationists being elected. Barnett achieved economic growth for Mississippi while governor. He fought for a right-to-work law so workers did not have to join unions. He succeeded in getting 41 new economic development laws passed that dealt with things like training programs, tax exemptions, and industrial parks. This made Mississippi more attractive to industry. During his administration, Mississippi gained 555 new or expanded industries. As a result of industrial development and jobs created, Mississippi's population grew by 30,000 a year while Barnett was in office. Barnett was known around the nation for his racist views. He is best remembered for his fight to keep the first black man, James Meredith, from enrolling at Ole Miss. Ole Miss officials refused to admit Meredith. The NAACP sued for his admission in federal court, even after U.S. Supreme Court Justice Hugo Black sided with Meredith. Segregationists would not give up. Barnett spoke to the media and called on all Mississippians to resist. When the college's Board of Trustees learned they would be held in contempt for refusing to admit Meredith, they gave Barnett the power to act for the board. Barnett was found in contempt when he still refused to admit Meredith into Ole Miss. Barnett knew that Meredith's admission into Ole Miss was inevitable. He kept up the public fight while he secretly negotiated with President John F. Kennedy and Attorney General Robert Kennedy. Taped conversations show that Barnett made a deal with the Kennedys. He would stand in the doorway showing defiance, but would relent to a show of force from U.S. Marshals. Barnett was using the Kennedys to save face, but the Kennedys thought Barnett was a yokel. The deal might have worked if Barnett had not invited a crowd of over 40,000 at an Ole Miss game. Much of the crowd went to Oxford to riot against federal marshals. The rioting killed 2 people, and Barnett was forced to give in to military force. Barnett's popularity faded when his secret negotiations with the Kennedys became public. He lost his last campaign in 1967 and retired to his law practice. Barnett was able to achieve economic development for the state during his term as governor, but he is remembered for his racism. He fought school integration, but eventually lost this battle to the more powerful federal government. This fight made headlines nationwide and made Barnett a focus on national media. This publicity perpetuated the nation's negative view of Mississippi. Most of the country saw Robert Barnett as a stereotypical white Southerner. And that's it.